Now we continue our story about from Xinhua to Changsha with my father. After the big quarrel between my father and Uncle Din on the table, is silence again. This time, even without the noise of peeling candy papers and chewing, my father took the last deep inhale of his cigarette until his lips felt burned. He changed his tone to a more domestic manner. Exactly because we know you are also in difficulties. Xiwen, that's my mother's name, and I decided to release your burden by taking Daniel back. I'm afraid this is the only thing we could do to help at this moment. After a little pause, my father obviously tried to cheer everybody up by saying, "We must trust our great leader Chairman Mao and always correct Communist Party. Our country will be better and better from now on." As no one seems to be cheered up, my father's effort was in vain. Uncle C moaned again. If our eldest brother had finished his university degree instead of taking part in the Communist Party's revolutionary activity before liberation, at least he could now earn some money by teaching or doing some related job. By doing that, he should be able to take his share supporting our old parents. Capturing the gap between my father's response, Uncle Din poured out with anger. "If revolution can't bring our family a better life, but results in hunger for the whole nation, what's the meaning of it? Guess." Be careful. My father raised his voice with authority. "What I have just heard was anti-revolutionary. It's dangerous, especially from non-working class family." Okay. Maybe you're not familiar with class. Okay, class struggle is a thing, class. We talk about class struggle. That's the most important thing after the Chinese liberation. We say liberation, okay. And we created so many classes even today. Okay, class struggle. Uncle Din was outraged by his brother's words. He jumped up and shouted, "Remember, just like most of your party members, you cut all the ties with your family long time ago when you joined the party. Therefore, whatever happened to us, you got nothing to worry about." My aunt also looked quite anxious. She clarified, "Our father's class is self-employed and small land renting. It is self-employed before small land renting." Okay, big deal. If someone, the family from a landlord, I mean you own the land, okay, you're in deep trouble. You can just take out and be cut the head. In addition, after the victory of revolution, our father was once elected to be the people's representative of the county. Therefore, our family is in no way anti-revolutionary class. If not, how could people's enemy represent the people, right? That's the argument from my aunt. All this dialogue must be nonsense to most nations on the earth, but was absolutely great, the greatest importance to every single Chinese family at that time. It was so vital that it could be at the edge between to be or not to be, means between life and death. Such an important debate was, of course, not suitable for a child of 6. I was 6 years old. Grandma saw things getting out of hand. She took my hands and dragged me into the kitchen. She made me promise to stay there until being called. Then again, she went into the battlefield and tried to extinguish the fire. My sensitive nose led me to a small aluminium lunchbox. Guess what I found? 2 boiled eggs and 2 baked Chinese sweet potatoes. Wow, big deal. As my mouth was still busy with some candy, I decided to let them be for a little while longer. The quarreling of the adults was getting louder and louder. Curiosity forced me to put my face against the kitchen door. Through the gap, I saw my father standing up, saying to my grandma, "Where is danger? We've got to go at once. Otherwise, we will be late for the train." My father is always serious, very serious, like most Chinese Communist Party members. Even they talk like this at home, "Won't you have something to eat before?" Grandma hinted for my father to go into the kitchen. Then I know that 2 eggs and a sweet potato was my grandmother prepared for my father. But it's not enough for everybody, so she could not make it open. She just hinted. Okay, my father go to the kitchen, have that thing to eat. "Eat? Eat what?" Uncle Din, the angry man, cut in. "He brought nothing home. What have we got for him to eat?" The kitchen door was again opened. My father quickly walked towards me. He grasped my hand, dragged me out. My instinct was to bite him. Unfortunately, he avoided my teeth in time. I got away from him and quickly hid myself behind Aunt. To my immense surprise, my aunt, the woman who had always kept her arm open to me, in any case at any time had always been my protector, was not on that time. For the first time in my memory, he pushed me away from her. This unthinkable action of hers turned my surprise into anger. I decided to make her pay for what she had done to me by going away with this stranger. Without me, she must be sad to death, I imagined with a bit of satisfaction. The next thing I remember, I was on a train. I leaned against the window, anxiously expecting my aunt to take me back. But when I saw her with the lunchbox in her hand, running beside the train, back and forth, searching for me, window by window, again, I felt like playing a game. Every time my aunt passed by my window, I lowered down my head so that I was invisible. Until the train started to move, I stretched my head up and waved my hand to Auntie. When Aunt saw me, she hastily handed up the lunchbox and yelled, "Danjo, Danjo, take it, take it." But that was too late. The train moved faster and faster. The figure of my auntie's body became smaller and smaller until it faded away completely. Then I realized it was no longer a game, but a reality. My aunt and I were apart. I burst into tears. "I want the sweet potatoes. I want sweet potatoes." The sweet potato was just an excuse. I want my aunt. My father showed no response to my crying, only changed seats with me. Now he replaced me sitting by the window. After I gave up the hope that my aunt would appear again, I turned my eyes to my father, but he avoided my eye contact by turning his face to the window and gazed out. My crying got softer and softer, gradually becoming like a little monk chanting Buddhist Scripters. I want to smell potatoes. I want to smell potatoes. When I felt a little tired and sleepy, a noodle salesman passed by with a cart. My father hastily searched all of his pockets, looking for every single coin he could find. Put all the coins together in the middle of his left hand, and twice, 3 times, use the right finger, the first finger, count every single coin. I remember it's like a 36 Chinese fun, which is like 5 cents. Of course, I could be wrong. I was, after all, no more than 6 years old. His expression suddenly turned to be a little pleasantly excited. He called the noodle salesman with a rather positive tone. Father counted the coin again and again in front of the salesman and carefully handed them to. As soon as he took the bowl of the noodle from the salesman, he had some soup loudly. I guess he did so, partly because he was afraid that I would spill the soup out if it was too full. And then he passed the bowl to me very carefully. I nipped the noodles one by means of chopsticks, just one, and fed them into my mouth. My father again turned his face towards the window. I looked at him and felt the blue veins of his neck appeared somewhat like a blasted tree roots. It's like something dried up, I tried to observe his facial expression by looking at the window reflection. My father seems to have noticed my intention. Purposely, he blew some hot air on the window glass. Instantly, my father's face became obscurus. I squeezed the noodles and chewed them very slowly, deliberately making as much noise as I could, attempting to draw his attention. In fact, I was chewing my father's thoughts more than the noodle. Nevertheless, from the beginning to the end, my father showed no response. Okay. He's my father, of course. He's more clever than me. Finally, I used my chopsticks, cooked everything possible in the bowl, and then handed it over to my father. This time, he responded right away. He took the bowl and poured what was left into his mouth at once. When we arrived at Changsha, the capital of Hunan province, and got home, the first person and also the only person I met was a boy who looked only a little bigger than me. My father said something to the boy that I could not understand. The local language is different from Xinhua and Changsha. Then he turned to me and telling me that that boy was my elder brother. Our father left us alone as soon as this very brief introduction and went to work. Next time I saw my father was quite some months later. Okay, I'm a little tired today, so wasn't very good, I suppose. I promise to do it better tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. My aunt, the woman it's just unbelievable.